Okay, I'm letting this one go again, just mainly because I am trying to explain how a story works. And a story works basically on a curve. And the curve is pretty simple. It goes like this. All right, and pretty much everything we do goes by this. We have an up and we have a down. And the way I easily explain this to people is think of this point here, and this point here as a math problem. And I like to put a plus sign here and an equal sign here. These things can change accordingly. We are just going for the absolute basics. But what I'm going to make is 1, 2, 3. And this is what happens in a story. I'm going to say that the first part of the story is, hey, simple story about change. All right. So in most stories, we're just trying to answer grand questions. All right. And these questions can be as simple as what is the meaning of life? This could be why are my socks itchy? It could be why won't my why won't my friend call me back? We'll use that for example. You have to form an opinion on this, and your opinion could be, well, they're just being a jerk or something like that. This is what you would call thesis. Now we represent thesis with the number 1. And the reason behind we do that is we're going for a basic math problem. Now I'm going to jump ahead of the gun and do our math problem here. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Very, very simple. Now what happens when you go on a journey in a story is you do some trials, and they can be good trials, they can be bad trials. Whatever happens, you end up passing through something called a modifier. And that is some sort of experience or adventure that just sort of changes your prospect on things. Or in this case here, being a 1. All right. And then through those course of things, you are now a 2. Okay. I know that's not how math problems work. My concept here is, let's say this is a 1 and this is a 2. They're both made out of the same length of material. Same length of pipe made that 2 that made that 1. Or at least if I drew this correctly, it would. All right. This is what's called a metamorphosis or a change. And then what happens is you are changed. You are changed into a 2. Now, a 2 is not what you necessarily want to be. On your mission, you want to become a 3, right? A 1 can't make it to 3 alone. It needs the power of 2 to become 3. So it goes through it, and then just as it achieves it, just as it meets the 2 and says, hi, how are you? Let's form a partnership and become 3, because guess what? I want to be 3 too. In order for that to happen, you must face an evaluation. And that evaluation is very scientific, and it forces you to sit there and confirm. You pull out your fingers. Okay, 1 and 1. Okay, put those together. That's 2. I think if we add 1 more to it, okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, now let's count those out. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's do that in letters or numbers. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it works out. Okay. All right. Count them. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they are most definitely 3. So I'm confirmed at this point in here that I am 3. Now, for the sake of narrative, what we do is we just sort of push it up a little bit further here, right around here in something called the Dark Night of the Soul. But when we jump into our third act of our story, which obviously I haven't explained to you yet, this is the matter of solution and resolution. This is where we take 3 and we tell what we can do with 3 in its own little self-contained story that more or less wraps up everything else going on in the story. And we do this in the beginning too. This, hey, tell me a story about change, it's got its own little arc on it. And then this one here, this is the first part of Act 2. Yeah, well, you're going to have one there and you're going to have one here. And depending on the different kinds of obstacles that need to be covered and how complex your storyline is, you could find yourself in a situation where you actually have like a whole lot of these going all the way up there. And as long as they are true to the theme, and as long as they serve the prospect of answering those questions, tell me a story about change, then they're allowed to stay. If not, we have to do a thing as writers, and that is, in our universe, we have to play God. We have to ask which questions are being brought up that actually represent our values as a person. Is the person asking the question? Let's talk about values for a moment. Values are going to be very important to this. As you're going to see in the Enneagram video that I post, we have faith. Because I got to have faith. Faith. I got to have faith. All right. There is faith in all sorts of things. We can believe in God. We can believe in Yahweh. We can believe in live long and prosper. We can believe that we are star stuff. All right. Or we can believe I know. There we go. We can believe in humanity. I'm just going to use hands to describe that. All right. And depending on how much you believe in something, you're going to actually block out a lot of the things that are lower down. You have to make sure you don't do that. In the case of a question of why do people lie, which is a very good question you can ask, you're going to need the perspective of the people who live in a world where faith is maybe not a part of their structure, or maybe their faith in society is something that they in turn are lying, or Lying, to themselves about. And that's, again, the burden of the storyteller. You have to pick out all the arguments, and then, so for example, why do people lie? Let's say, 'cause it's fun to stay out of trouble. Let's see, to get what I want, to get what I need. That's a big one. And then how about again, I'm just spitballing here. I'm sure that you're sitting there watching the screen going, there's a better answer, there's a better answer. And that's why we listen to people. All right? We listen to people. All right? Storytellers are good at that. We just sit there and we listen to people. We hear, that's not a real ear. I apologize. I'm going to put an earring in it just to make sure it passes off. And then I'm going to put some hair, because that's what we do. We listen. And then we take those perspectives, we batch them together, and then those become characters. And then what I'll do is I'll look at this little tool called an Enneagram, which looks a little something like this, but there's another video for that you can look at. And it picks out a character that would, helps me pick out a character that would best represent this value. So if I'm looking at because it's fun, well, I'm sort of looking at the values of a 7. If I was to stay out of trouble, it's a self-preservation thing. It's going to be maybe a phobic 6. To get what I want, that could be control. No, you know what? Maybe like that's a 1. Maybe it's a 9. That's the life of a 9. So I always question that one. I would say let's put it as a 3. 3s are all about getting that thing and getting credit for it. And then to get what I need, let's put that down as an 8. All right. So now I have a 7, an 8, a phobic 6, and a 3 all working together in my storyline. And I have to ask the question, who has the better argument, or at the very least, who can convey their argument the best? There's not necessarily a winner. You can have one protagonist that asks the question, and you can have a whole bunch of people here who are not antagonists. They're supporting protagonists who ask the question. And the antagonists could be perhaps the people who refuse to answer the question of why. All right? There's lots of possibilities here, and it's up to you as the writer to filter that and then go back into your history and ask yourself, gee, what is the story that happens right here that helps answer the overall question that more or less must be resolved by then, and then every other question that stemmed around it needs to be put to bed by here. They all got set up here. They need to be resolved here. They need to be concluded here. Some of them will be proven inside of this experiment. So this is the way that I teach to people, and I'll use some different examples. So we will tell the story of, I am hungry, going from beginning to end. Sometimes we'll just sort of use it to crack apart what's wrong with a character inside of their script. A lot of people will sit there and they will write a story. And they got this great idea. There's going to be an explosion, and there's going to be some dude walking away. All right, and he's cool, and he's got another guy there too. And because of this, they're superheroes. But you know what? They also got problems with, saving the world. And then this happens, and then while we're at it here, there's a scene where they fly to Mars, and they go and they battle all of the monsters on Mars, and then they come back, and there's this great scene where they eat tacos. All right, and that's fun, but the problem is that's this and this, and this. All right, all you're doing is just throwing things at me. If this was a clip show, tell me it's a clip show first. And if it is a clip show, keep me interested enough to stick through the clip show, because if Star Trek taught me anything, clip shows suck. All right? What we need to be doing as storytellers is to focus on one thing. Here's my question. Here's my answer. And here's how I processed it. Thesis. A thesis. That's new information that comes in that changes it. Synthesis. As a result of that, something new has come in. Or if we go back to our story before, our 1 adds together with another 1 to become a 2. And as a result of that, changes. And let's just say because they recognize that change, they get one more that joins them. Okay? And that morphs into 3. Okay? Or if you want to put it this way, the 1 gradually morphs into a 2, but finally is tested and evaluated and proven to be a 3. I know the math doesn't quite work out on that one there. You have to picture it again as a metamorphosis. Or let's just put it in simple words. This happens, which leads to this. Therefore, this happens. So this leads to this. Therefore, this happens. And what happens is this and this had better be connected. All right? Me sitting there looking at a pencil, and this being a kraken popping out of the ocean, they don't have anything in common, right? The thing that needs to happen here is me looking for adventure. For example, I'm getting very loose on this one. When I get to the end here, it should be I found adventure. And when you're telling your story, if you're going to have you looking at a pencil saying, I'm bored because I don't have adventure, then the story is not about the pencil. Don't make it about a pencil. Make it about the adventure, the stakes of looking for adventure. And you can actually start like just making a list of what does it mean to be adventurous. And then you can take all those things and you can apply the, let's see, adventure. And you can apply those to literal, figurative, internal, and external. And I just have a text phrase that I use for that. It's a little script term, int dot nature day. And really all that is except, like, this is an old script term, so this is how you set up a scene. Except the literal, the figurative, and the internal and the external of all things. So and then also accept the opposites. So in this case here, internal is also external. Decide up which one you want to use. Nature is nurture, and then day is night. And you have to ask yourself, how does adventure, that's nurture. How does adventure affect me internally, externally? How does it affect my nature? How does it affect my ability to survive? My nurture, how does it affect my well-being? What makes me me? And then the time, day or night. Okay, day or night is one thing that effectively all these things here are just the effect of nature and gravity. So and time. So nature is gravity, time, and space. So we filter through those things and we try to come up with what themes and arguments our characters are going to come up with to truly answer our question, why do I go on an adventure? Or at the very least, why do people lie about wanting to go on adventure? There's a lot of possibilities here. That's my rough rundown here, and I hope you appreciate it there. I hope you like it. It's just a test. It's just me letting all my brain goo out for you guys. So have a good one. Bye.